G'day everyone, I'm David Reedy. Welcome to Piano Finally, a podcast by an old bloke who's getting around to learning the piano. Finally. Welcome to show 45. Thank you very much for joining me. If this is the first time you're listening to the podcast, I hope you enjoy what you hear. If you've returned for another episode, then thanks. If you too are learning the piano or another musical instrument, let me know how you're going with it. You can contact me at david@pianofinally.show. The first week of the holidays has been pretty musical. It started with a trip to Armidale for a piano concert. There's more information about that at the end of the show. Armidale is a 6-hour drive from Sydney through some very picturesque countryside. It took about 8 hours to make the trip, with stops for food and car charging. It's nice to see that the infrastructure for electric car charging is finally getting reliable, and the number of charging locations is increasing, even on less popular routes. 6 hours might seem like a long drive, but I was able to catch up on some audiobooks and podcasts, so it wasn't a problem at all. I've also had an idea about how to get better at using a metronome when practicing. I already have a decent Boss unit, but find it challenging to use effectively. It's too quiet when I am playing loudly, and it's not very musical. I was thinking that real bands don't use metronomes, although apparently they do use click tracks sometimes. They usually have a drummer to set the beat, so maybe mixing a drum machine into the audio might be a better solution. So I picked up a drum machine during the week and added it to the practice yesterday. I think it's working. I'll let you know more in the next episode. I mentioned a couple of months ago that the second season of the ABRSM's Start Here podcast was starting up. The podcast is presented by Alexis French, the musical director of the ABRSM. Each week, it looks at different genres of music, and is not limited to the type of music that you would expect from an organisation best known for its classical music grading and examinations. Season 2 has picked up where Season 1 left off, looking at both relatively modern and traditional music genres. I say relatively modern because most of the music still has its roots in the last century. This season has also been straying further from the music that I'm familiar with. There have been some genres I've never even heard of. The first episode of the season covered drum and bass. I know what a drum is and what a bass is, but I'd never heard of it as a music genre. It's not the type of music I can see myself getting into, but knowing about it is certainly worthwhile. Similarly, I'd not heard of drill, which is the subject of the second episode. Subsequent episodes have been a little closer to what I know, with reggae, folk, gaming music, and most recently, opera. In each episode, Alexis has a guest who is a performer and expert in the genre. He talks to them about their musical journeys, what they see in their chosen field, and asks them for suggestions for people wanting to listen to pieces as a further introduction. The first season, which is still available in podcast applications, was great, and the second season is just as good. In particular, because the range of topics is so broad, I learn something new every week, which is a great compliment to the learning I'm doing at the keyboard. I thoroughly recommend Start Here and suggest that everyone with an interest in any form of music will find it an interesting way to fill a half an hour or so. There's a link in the show notes. Playing. I've been learning Spanish for a few years now, and if I want to say that I play the piano, I'd say toco el piano, which translates as I touch the piano. The Spanish word for play, juego, is used for games or sports, but not musical instruments. This got me thinking about why we say play in English and what it means as an adult learning a musical instrument. I don't work the piano. Of the millions of pianists around the world, only a small percentage of them use the piano for work. There are many people other than pianists who use the piano for work, but who don't usually perform in public, such as piano teachers, school teachers, and salespeople. But I'm betting that the majority of pianists aren't there as part of their job. Why are they there? From recent experience, I would hazard a guess that some of them are there because they have been told to be there. I've recently been talking to two of the children of one of my friends. Their mother insisted that both of them learn the piano because that's what you do. I've heard both of them play, and they're both pretty good, certainly better than I am at the moment. But the elder child is asking to quit. They are still learning, but only under duress, while the younger one is still enjoying their time. Speaking with students at school, many of them are learning because they are being made to by their parents. Maybe it would be better to say that they are enduring the piano rather than playing it. So, who is playing, in the sense that play means to have fun doing something? And how does playing influence the relationship between player and instrument? Playing suggests that the player has chosen to be there on their own, for the pleasure they will enjoy from spending time at the keyboard. It may be the immediate pleasure that comes from making musical sounds that carry a message. It may be the pleasure of inventing something while improvising, or it may be the delayed pleasure of improving so that you master a piece. In each case, there is a good feeling that comes from doing something pleasurable. If playing the piano is fun, then practice can't be a chore, as was pointed out by Charles Cook in Playing the Piano for Pleasure, the book I reviewed in the last episode. Even playing the C major scale over and over until you can do it almost in your sleep is fun, as seeing your skills develop over time is enjoyable. When I finish writing this, I'm going to practice the opening buzz of the Mozart piece in my new repertoire. At the moment, it's hard going, but I know from experience that eventually I'll manage it and be able to play the whole piece. It's that delayed feeling of accomplishment that will make the practice session fun. The big question is, how do we keep fun in learning the piano? Delayed gratification is all well and good, but having some immediate fun is worthwhile too. I've decided to get the Nord Stage 4 keyboard for the fun it will add to my piano playing. All those keyboard techniques I'm learning on the Kawai will let me have fun on the Nord, but with organs, pianos, synthesizers, and multiple voices. What was it that finally convinced me to spend the money on yet another keyboard? It was the fun that playing the Nord will eventually bring. One of the main reasons I'm learning the piano is to be able to share my playing with others. The piano by itself is nice, but there's a whole world of other music that uses the same keyboard skills but produces different sounds. If I'm going to play some Elton John tunes, and there are quite a few I aim to play eventually, then having them sound the same as when he plays them will be a challenge. Working out the keyboard settings to get there is sure to be a bunch of fun. So how do you keep the fun alive when you're playing the piano? Let me know at david@pianofinally.show. Interestingly, Italians, the French and Germans, suono, jouer and spiele the piano, all of which translate to play, so they must be there to have fun too. And as an aside, after 6 years studying Latin at school, I'm not going to leave out that a Roman would have said claves cano, or I sing the keys, if the piano had been invented a bit earlier. As I mentioned earlier, I travelled to Armidale during the week to attend the Piano Plus Showcase concert, which is part of the Autumn Piano School. The concert was played by 6 of the tutors from the Autumn Piano School, and as the majority of the audience were attendees at the school and their families, I think this led to more freedom for the pianists to choose pieces that might not otherwise be heard in a public recital. The most popular composer on the evening was Alexander Scriabin, with 2 of the pianists choosing works by him, 3 etudes and a sonata. There was some Liszt, Schubert, Chopin, and Mozart. But there was also works from a composer I hadn't heard of before, Anton Rubinstein. Anton Rubinstein was a 19th century Russian composer who was renowned as a virtuoso pianist on the same level as Liszt. He began performing at the age of 9 and studied in Paris, where he met other famous composers. Of course, as a working pianist, he was also a teacher, and one of his students was Piotr Tchaikovsky. It's not surprising that, as a teacher and composer, Rubinstein wrote various pieces of music for his students to practice. His Opus 23 consists of 6 etudes, and I think we can get some idea of his level of playing when we listen to these pieces and look at the scores. Trust me, they are well beyond anything in the ANZCA exam repertoire books. I've included a link in the show notes to a recording of the etudes accompanied by the scores. Two of Rubinstein's etudes were played by Cody Green as part of the concert. Cody is the artistic director of 45 Downstairs Chamber Music Festival in Melbourne and works as a lecturer at the Melbourne Conservatorium of Music. Cody played the two etudes in F major, and they were incredible. Part of the spectacle was watching him at the piano. I was sitting in the front row on the left-hand side of the auditorium, so I had a clear view of his hands on the keyboard, and I don't think I have ever seen someone play that quickly. In the first etude, there is a section with hemi-demi-semiquavers, or 64th notes. I thought they only existed in theory books. One description of the works calls them beautifully terrifying, which seems apt. For me, it was a highlight of the evening and made the drive there and back well worth it. If you're wondering about the Autumn Piano School, I'll put a link in the show notes. The school caters to pianists from primary school to adults at various grades of playing. I won't be attending anytime soon. The adult stream is for grade 6 and up, maybe in 10 years or so. I prepared everything for this episode on Saturday and then discovered that on Sunday there was a chamber music concert at a music festival just half an hour away from my house. As the concert was at one of my favourite places in the mountains, I jumped at the chance and went. It was great. I'll include a full report in the next episode. If you'd like to contact me about anything in the show or just to say hello, email is the best way. You'll find me at david@pianofinally.show and the website at www.pianofinally.show. In both cases, Piano Finally is all one word. You can subscribe via any popular iOS or Android podcast application or from directories such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And the show is also available as audio only on YouTube. I also post an excerpt and link for each episode as an Instagram reel. If you're learning an instrument, let me know where you are in your journey, what's going well, and what are the challenges. And so, until next week, I hope your piano stays in tune and you enjoy your time at the keys. I'm including the two pieces from the preparatory repertoire that I'm still working on improving, Andrew Cragg's Afternoon Snooze and Blackout Blues, and the first new piece from grade 1. The new piece is Der Vogelfänger bin ich ja from Die Zauberflöte by Mozart, arranged by Barry Carson Turner. These are just the first 4 bars in the Anacrusis, and the hands are still separate at the moment. The pieces were recorded in one take using the Kawai NV10 as the keyboard and Piano Tech 8 on the M4 Pro Mac Mini, emulating the Bösendorfer 280 VC piano in cinematic mode.